Good morning. What's up, you guys? We are back. Thanks for coming back to my channel and watching these videos. I am continuously blown away at how many of you guys are following me. If you saw my original trail announcement video, I talked about this, but the reason I'm making these videos is more so a documentation for myself and for my family. And the fact that so many of you guys have jumped on board and are following along just flabbergasts me. So thank you guys for coming along. It's gonna be a journey and I'm gonna take you along for the ride. So here we go. So as we're getting closer to the start date, as I keep mentioning, gear videos are coming. They are. And technically this is, I guess, the first one. But today I want to talk about DIY gear, which is just gear items that you can make or modify at home rather than buying new stuff. So I guess we'll jump right into it. But I will say, stick around till the end because I did do a tutorial for one of these items. So I will tell you guys about that in the video, but if you stick around to the end, I do have a how-to video about how I make one of these items. So let's do it. A quick note before we really get going, as to why making DIY gear is such a viable option. One reason is just that gear can get really expensive. And admittedly, when I started thinking about the Appalachian Trail, my original mindset was that I'm gonna make it work with what I've got. And that is not realistic. But what I can do is take the items that I have and, like I said, modify or upcycle them to be what I need them to be. So that's what I've done. So the first thing that I made, I can't show you. I'm hoping to make up for that with the fact that I have a tutorial at the end. But what I have, a material that I had, is elastic shoelaces. It just came in this little container, very simple. All I have left in here is a clasp, but it had a lot of laces in there, like a lot of length of laces. And basically what I did is I took that and I attached it to the strap of my pack, which is why I can't show it to you because that would give away my pack, and I have a big 3 video coming. On the shoulder strap of my pack, I have adjusted those shoelaces to be a water bottle holder. This is the piece of gear that I have made that I am the least confident in, to be completely honest. I have seen other packs that have these. Some packs are now coming with some elastic for water bottles, but a lot of people also just have the carrier that they purchase. And so there's a possibility I might end up going to one of those, but I'm going to try the DIY version first. So I made a water bottle carrier. I also, with those same elastic straps, made a strap for my headlamp. So one of the ways that I'm using what I have is by using the headlamp that I already have. It works, it has a red light, and the only thing that I didn't like about it was the weight. So I took those elastic shoelaces and I made myself a goofy looking but effective ultralight headband. And it really does. It reduces the weight of my headlamp itself. And at the end, I've got this little strap there so I can cinch it as much or as little as I need. I might come through and shorten this strap, but at the moment, it's doing pretty well. It looks silly. And I need to tighten it right now, but it's effective. I care less about what I look like and more about things working and being functional for me. So that's what I've done. So you can make your own. They're really easy. There's tutorials online. I will link some helpful resources in the description to this video also if you want to look into doing some of these things yourself. Something else I tried and failed at, because I feel like telling you guys the things that don't work is part of this process and also part of my transparency. I had a poncho a rain poncho that was dying. It was just ripping in like 3 different places. It was still waterproof, but you know, there was like, it was like now a V-neck poncho, and that's ineffective for a poncho. So what I tried to do is I tried to make like rain mitts out of them. And it didn't work, but I tried. I tried to put it to use before I put it to the waste bin, which is ultimately where it went. But along those lines, I have upcycled other clothing. So an item that I had was a 3, I guess, season puffy. It wasn't a super heavy duty one. It was made of synthetic material, and it's almost 8 years old. And its insulating power had gone way down. I was already getting a new version of it for the Appalachian Trail, so I knew that I didn't need 2. And it had some holes in it. It was getting pretty ratty. It was time to retire it. And it was also getting beat up in a way that I didn't feel like I could, in good conscience, donate it to Goodwill or something. So I decided to put it to use. So, what I've made. What I have made is my version of the down booties that people buy for sleeping in. I'll put a picture of like what they look like here, but it's the insulating booties that people wear at night to keep their feet warm for like winter camping. And I made my own version. Granted, because I was using a material that already had lost a lot of its insulating power, it's not wildly insulating. That said, I have tested these and they do keep my feet warmer than without them. So I know they work. And for not spending a dime, I'm gonna take them. They're ultralight, but they look silly. So this is what they look like. This is one. Here's the other. They're not the same size because I'm not a professional. Basically, what you're looking at here is the shoulder. So it goes there on the jacket. I cut off the shoulder, flipped it inside out and sewed it. Very rudimentary job, but I sewed it and flipped it back right side out. And I took duct tape and just sealed this end. And my foot goes in, my toes end up on this end. And it keeps my feet warmer than not having this. Will this be a perfect situation? No, but I saved myself a good bit of money and I put to use a piece of clothing that was just gonna get thrown away. So, if you have old down items or synthetic puffy items, this is something that you can make. It might look better than mine. You probably won't have a hard time making it look better than mine, but this is effective. And again, that's all I care about. Now, the big item that I made for myself relates to my cook system. And so I'll go ahead and let you guys know my plan for cooking is freezer bag cooking, which means, if you're not familiar with that concept, it means taking things like ramen, mashed potatoes, things like that you can just rehydrate as backpacking meals, and you put them in a freezer bag and you pour in almost boiling water, seal it up, and leave it, and it will rehydrate in the bag itself. But a way of prolonging the life of the amount of fuel that you need and also helping that food cook faster and more efficiently is by having some sort of system to insulate the bag so that it's not just immediately cooling off when it hits the cold air. So I have 2 versions of this. This was my first version. And what I ultimately found is that it's too narrow. It's like almost exactly, it's slightly smaller than the width of a freezer bag itself, and that's not quite gonna work, even though I kind of gave it a little bit of depth. This was my first rendition. This is my new one, and I think it's gonna work a lot better. So the way that this works, I'm just using a rubber band, but it just opens up. Oh, look, I left the bag in here. So the freezer bag is in here, but the way that I made it the bottom kind of pops out. You can see I would have to play with it a little bit more, but it just gives it a little bit more depth. But the freezer bag, you put the food in, you put the water in, you slip it in here to cook. It's weird to do this backwards. Close the top, hold it down, and my dinner can be cooking in here. So this is the item that I recommend of all of the things that you make at home, because you can buy them, but why? So basically any material will work. This is a sunshade for a car window that I made into this. And this is what I'm gonna have a tutorial for in just a moment here. So stick around for that. It will also be, the tutorial will also be on my Instagram, on my page. So check that out if you want to reference it in the future, or you can just come back to this video, either way. But yeah, those are the materials or the gear items that I have home crafted or attempted to home craft. I hope this video has given you guys some ideas, maybe inspired you to make some of your own gear, maybe inspired you to take a look at the old stuff you're not using and find ways to modify it, upcycle it, use it in a new and creative way. I'm a really big fan of this. It cuts down my cost. It challenges my own consumerism. It helps me put things to use that are just sitting collecting dust in the corner. So hope you guys found this useful, or at least entertaining. This was a really fun one for me. I like doing silly things like this. So anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. Feel free to check out the tutorial again on my Instagram, or stick around in just a moment. But either way, thank you guys for being here again. Thank you for following along on this wild journey, and I'll see you next time. Today we're going to make a freezer bag food koozie. The only materials you need are a scissors and duct tape and some sort of reflective material. I here use a car windshield reflector. The first thing you're going to do is take a freezer bag like what you would use in backcountry cooking, and you're going to cut out a shape that is the correct width and the length of 2 times plus a little bit more the length of your bag, so that it's actually a little bit taller, and you'll see why we do that in a little bit. This bag is used for backcountry cooking, so that when you are cooking meals in a freezer bag, it insulates your food so that it doesn't cool off, cooks properly, cooks faster, and you're ultimately using less fuel. The only requirement is that the material you use is reflective and won't melt when it is under high temperature heat. After you've got your cutout, you're going to start folding it, and you're going to fold it so that each side equals 1 length of your freezer bag, but you're going to fold it so that there's a W shape at the bottom, and you'll see why we do that in a moment here. And one edge reaches up taller so that you have enough room for a flap. And now you'll start taping. The first thing that you are going to tape is part of that W. You're going to tape one of the inside edges to the outside. And you can be much more precise than I am here. But you're going to do that on both sides of the W, on both sides of the food koozie bag itself. What this will ultimately do is allow us to open up the food koozie bag a little bit wider on the inside so that it holds the capacity of a freezer bag that has material and water inside of it. It basically gives it depth so that a filled bag will fit inside comfortably. So we're going to tape the W on the other side as well to secure it down. You're welcome to choose a duct tape that matches. This just happened to be the duct tape that I had available, so I ran with it. After you've got your W taped, the next thing that we are going to do is tape the top flap. And the only reason that I'm doing this is just to seal it, just because I like the look of it and it seems to hold a little bit better, but we're just gonna close that to help with the insulating properties of the food koozie itself. Again, none of these tapings need to be particularly exact. Nothing needs to be perfect. This is a homemade DIY food koozie. Feel free to make it yours, make adjustments, make a couple. So the next thing we're gonna tape is the sides. And this you're gonna tape from the top of the W fold all the way to the top of the bag itself where there are 2 layers. There's still gonna be that extra flap sticking up above. And we'll do that on both sides. And after you make this last taping, your bag is essentially done. From this point, you're done with the tape, so you can set that aside. Again, be careful cutting. Tape down the sides. And from here, the bag is essentially done. So this is what it looks like from here. All we have to do is secure the top flap to keep the heat in from the top. You can do whatever you want, but I like to use a rubber band as it's very lightweight and cheap, and it just holds that flap down very well and can stay on the bag itself. The last thing to do is to test it. We'll pop out that bottom flap and stick in the freezer bag, and it fits perfectly. We can fold down that top flap and secure it, and here you have a backcountry freezer bag food koozie.